This is Adrian Warnock's Christian Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Well, hi everyone. This is Adrian Warnock again, and I'm sitting here this afternoon, and I wasn't really thinking I'd do another of these kind of things so quickly, because of course I did one of these on Saturday. But there's just something that's really kind of got to me a little bit this morning. Not got to me, got under my skin this afternoon, I suppose, as I've been thinking about it. And it's just a little phrase, actually, that, funnily enough, Kanye West used in one of those interviews. And trust me, I'm not becoming a complete fanboy here. But he talked about this. He said, described himself, as being in complete service to God. And that was an interesting thought to me. I wonder, when was the last time, if you're Christian and you're watching this, when was the last time you heard another Christian talk about themselves as being in complete service to God? I think sometimes, if I'm honest, Christians today, we can tend to actually almost want God to serve us. You know, we become a Christian in order for what God will do for us. And it's very easy sometimes to see God almost as though he's our servant. Now, you know, most of us are not going to subscribe wholeheartedly and theologically to the prosperity gospel and the idea that if we follow God, then he will bless us automatically and make us rich. And yet, the truth of the matter is, that's kind of what we assume. And so we sort of think, it's almost like we do a secret deal with God, that if we go to church, if we pray, if we give money, if we read our Bibles, if we just live a sort of broadly Christian life, we kind of expect him to do things for us. And actually, sometimes it could almost be asked of us, the same as the devil commented on Job. He said this, and this is in the Good News translation, he said, would Job worship you, God, if he got nothing out of it? And I suppose that was the thought that was running through my mind today as I was thinking about the weekend and that long article that I wrote a couple of days ago, if you haven't had a chance to look at it. And it was that, really. Would I worship God if I got nothing out of it? Or do I serve him conditionally, if you like? Or, in fact, am I almost expecting him to serve me as though he's some kind of heavenly slot machine in the sky? And I do think when suffering hits, and I don't want to sort of belabor the point, but sometimes that can be the moment when you are tested, just as Job was, of course. When things don't work out the way you want them to, do you still worship him? Do you still serve him? Or are we angry with him at that point? And when we do pray, what do our prayers sound like? Do we come to him with a list of our demands and our requests? Are we saying, God, will you do this? Will you do that? Will you do the next? Will you essentially bless my plans? Or do we come to him as a servant to a master? Do we come to him to worship him? Do we come to him to exalt him? Do we come to him actually to ask him, okay, what is it you want me to do today? What is it that you have for me to do today? And I guess for me personally, today I was thinking, maybe this little blog article that I've written about this, and now this little Facebook Live or podcast, whatever it's called, however you're watching this, might be of some use to a few of you to just stop and think again, am I serving Jesus? Because to serve Jesus, of course, means to obey him. And if Jesus is king, then we should serve him. And that's the title of the article that this is the sort of accompaniment to. Really, that's it. Now, of course, to obey Jesus is not about being a legalist. It's more of a lifestyle. It comes out of love, and it's not meant to be a heavy burden either. His commands are not actually what we'd be expecting from a religious leader. They focus more on the heart than on the externals. And he actually calls us to lay aside our allegiances to other earthly masters and to things that are ruling us. We think we're free, but we're not. And he says, come and be free. Come and find true freedom. He says, come to me, all who labour and are heavily laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me. So there is a yoke, and learn from me. But he says, I am gentle and I am lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's quite a challenge, actually. If we're following Jesus, it's not an onerous thing, and yet it's something that demands our everything. So he is king. He does expect us to obey him, but his commands are not burdensome. Although, as I say, they do demand everything. Really, what's Jesus calling us to do? To reorientate our hearts, to seek him, And then over time, our lives will increasingly follow him. So there we are. Here's a question for you to ask yourself and for me to ask myself as we close this short little snippet. Am I in complete service to Jesus? Thank you very much, everyone. I'll let you get back to your day. Well, you've made it to the end of an episode of Adrian Warnock's Christian podcast. You must have some stamina. Well done. And if you liked what you heard, you know what to do. Subscribe, review, tell all your friends about it. And in the meantime, why not visit adrianwarnock.com?